What up, friends? I'm back at it on the JMT. As you can see, it's a little hazy from the smoke, but so much better than Reno. So I'm in Lyell Canyon, which is one of my favorite parts of the JMT, and it's sprinkling a little rain right now, which is good. Oh, hello. What are you? So it's quite blustery and a little bit of rain, but I've decided to go over Donahue Pass because there's been no thunder at all today, and it looks good over at Donahue. Almost to the top of Donahue. The weather is fine. It's just windy. Can't be scared of wind. Down there is Tuolumne. I remember crossing this bridge in gale force winds and almost being blown off. Today's beautiful. This is Ruby Lake, and up on that ridge is where Jordan and I camped in 2018 during a windstorm. This is where we wanted to camp, but it was full, supposedly. But this site is now closed for restoration. Good morning on day 2. I accidentally did about 15 miles yesterday because it's just too early to stop at 10 miles. Hiked with other JMTer Ben down from Donahue Pass. We had some nice chats on the way down. It was fun. And like most cute young boys on the trail, he's doing big miles. So bye-bye, Ben. Won't see you again. Because Fafa is not on a high mile mission. Let's continue with story time. So at MTR, I was hiking with another woman and 2 gay men, and we were approached by a man that I decided to call Citizen Sheriff because he didn't introduce himself with any official capacity except that he used to be a ranger, and proceeded to tell us many things that we did not ask about, assuming that we knew nothing about Leave No Trace or how to camp responsibly. And we unfortunately just let him mansplain to us, despite the fact that I have thousands of miles of backpacking experience and great respect for the wilderness. And the other woman I was with is a park ranger. And the men had experience too, but this guy decided he just wanted to be a gatekeeper and mansplain everything to us, which was really great, and by that I mean a huge turnoff, and we left. We did not leave though until we had gone to the hot springs, the public part, like he said, where he did come and check up on us, and some other women also commented on his behavior, and apparently he made someone cry. So maybe work on your delivery, dude. Oh my gosh. It's a little cute pika at Muir Pass. Here's story number 2. This is not my story. This is another woman I met on the trail this time. She met
Another older man, probably, you know, like would be my dad's age. And he really wanted a trail name. And so she finally gave him the name All Trails. And he said he didn't like it. And he's like, you have to give me another one. And he was like, otherwise I'm going to put you over my knee and spank you. And she at least had the guts to say, you know, jokingly back, well, then I'd probably punch you in the face. But isn't it amazing that men think they can say something like that to you? So our first topic is going to be casual sexism on the trail. And first story will be at VVR, was talking to some men, mostly seem to be straight, white, cisgender men. Most of them really nice. And I told them eventually that I was PCT 2019. And the first thing one of the men says to me is, oh, where did you get off trail? And I just went, what do you mean? And what he meant was, because he assumed I was northbound and that was a bad snow year, that I had gotten off trail at the Sierra and skipped ahead or something. Which, first of all, not a fair assumption. And second of all, is inaccurate, because I said, oh no, I was southbound the entire way. But interesting that his first thought was to say, where did you get off trail? Hello, marmot friend. You are not scared at all. Another thing that I've noticed this year on trail is that there seems to be a lot fewer younger people. And I wonder if that's because all the young people bought houses and had babies during COVID. So, that I didn't have anything else really to offer about trail experience, since there's a lot of JMT, PCT videos out there. But I have a few stories that I do want to share. Here's a piece of simple gear advice. So I've been hitting the Gatorade powder hard this trip. Thank you, Hiker Box. But you can now see that it is triple bagged. It's in a little bag, which is another bag, which is another bag, because people chose to put it in the cheapest, lightest plastic bags, and those are also the most likely to rip. Spend a little bit more money on a freezer bag that's a little thicker and that has especially a thick, wider zipper. Climate change is real, people. Do something about it, especially if you love the outdoors. Another thing to remember is that uphill hikers always have the right of way. So as a downhill hiker, as soon as you see someone coming uphill towards you, find a safe place to stop off the side of the trail, on the mountainside, not the cliffside, if that's an issue, because we don't want you falling, and acknowledge the other hiker as early as possible. Say hello and go ahead so that the uphill hiker has no confusion and doesn't need to stop. So I was just talking to an older couple on trail going no-bow, and they said that this smoke is mostly now from a new fire around Tahoe, the Cauldron Fire, that's totally out of control. This is a DIY gravity filter. Where do the mountains end and the reflection begins? I don't know. When somebody asks you how far you're planning to go that day, which is just a sneaky way of asking how many miles you're gonna do, you don't have to answer. You can just say, I don't know, whatever I feel like. I'm not sure if this fits into the casual sexism category, but here's the PCT story for you. In my first week, I was stopped and met another young man on trail, and we just introduced ourselves like normal, chit-chatted a little bit because we're both from the Midwest, and of course he had to ask how many miles a day I was doing, and at that point I was doing, I don't know, maybe 15, 17 to begin with, and he was doing over 20, and he said to me, okay, well I guess I won't see you again since I'm doing more miles than you, so there's no way. And guess who I saw not but a couple days later? Him. And I also saw him again in Northern California. So think before you say things, because you never know who you'll see down the trail. Maybe you're wondering what you could do differently, and I'll give you an example. So on day one of my trip, I met a young man who was planning to do the trail in 10 days. And I was like, awesome. It's going to be hard, but that's great. I didn't assume too much. And so then I asked him, have you done a long hike before? And he said no. And I was like, okay. I mean, I was a little worried, but only because I want him to be successful. And so I thought on it a little bit before I spoke next, and I asked him, may I give you some unsolicited advice? And he said, yes, absolutely. And that's how it should be done. And here comes Mather Pass. So I'm here at the Woods Creek water slides, and I just had another sign that my hike is meant to end because, last night I camped with a fun trail family, and they told me there was a woman down the trail whose water filter wasn't working. Older lady, probably 60s or 70s, on her own, doing it. And so when I ran into her today, I gave her my water filter in exchange for hers. So I don't mind using a clogged water filter for a day and a half more. The moral of the story is be excellent to each other. so I'm gonna try to get it together before I run into any more hikers. But the song came on that really reminds me of my dad, and I just really want to help people on trail, in life. I don't always succeed, but I want to be someone that my dad would be proud of. Of course, I want my mom to be proud of me too, and I know that she is because she tells me so. Love you, Mom. Thanks for putting up with all my through hiking. So the fire intel is that there's a fire by Whitney Portal. So last night I pretty much decided that I'm going to get off trail at Kearsarge, just so I don't have to deal with any of that. And of course, woke up this morning and it was like the most clear, beautiful day that I've had, maybe since starting the trail. But I actually see that as a good sign that I am meant to get off trail at Kearsarge. I'm at Ray Lakes. I just got here. I don't know if you can hear it, but there is a medevac helicopter, right. So I just had a nice chat with a wilderness ranger, and he was talking about how much of a problem they're having with bears lately, and that education doesn't seem to be working because a lot of the people who are having the bear run-ins, he said that he had literally just talked to them about it the day before and they're not following the rules. And we also had a brief discussion about poop, of course, and how bad the toilet paper situation is out here. And, I commiserated that I'd heard the same thing in Washington from a wilderness ranger on the PCT, and it's a true shame that they know it's at certain times of the year it is the PCTers, because they're the only ones out here. PCTers are coming through Kings Canyon early before most people and leaving poopy trash everywhere, and then the rangers have to clean it up, and the rangers up in Washington have to do the same thing at the end of the season, and they know it's the PCTers. So PCTers, we can do better, please. And I'll also say what the ranger can't say, which is that if you are not willing to bury your poop and bag out your trash and your toilet paper, you should not be here. I will be a gatekeeper in that way. You need to do that. So I was just on top of Kearsarge Pass, and another hiker came up from the valley, and I thought, oh man, that person looks really familiar. So I had to ask. It's like, did you do the PCT? He's like, yeah, parts of it. Had to get off trail because of injury. And I was like, 2019? He was like, yeah. And I was like, I'm 90% sure I met you in Washington on my first days. And for sure, yeah, same guy. He was a northbounder in 2019 who flip-flopped and apparently then had to get off trail with a broken ankle. But I remembered his face. Those early days, you remember a lot. So a couple days ago, I was hiking behind a father and his two sons, and one of them was leaving bloody snot rockets on the trail, and I didn't know what to do about it. Because it was pretty gross and a little alarming for me as the person behind them, right on the trail. But maybe I'm wrong. So I'd be curious what other people's thoughts are, because blood, I would assume, is a leave no trace sort of thing, so you should bury it. Would have been nice if they at least kicked some dirt over it so I didn't have to see it. Or I guess the other option is I'm wrong and most people wouldn't be bothered by seeing bloody snot rockets on the trail. So I welcome some input on that. I ended up not saying anything to them because that's how women are socialized, is to not make men uncomfortable.